Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this afternoon's live stream for match reaction and player ratings to Chelsea 2, Crystal Palace nil in the FA Cup semi-final yesterday. And the Blues, thanks to goals from Ruben Loftus Cheek and Mason Mount, made it 3 consecutive FA Cup finals and have set up a final date with Liverpool for May the 14th. It's only the second time, actually, in history that the FA Cup final and the League Cup final have featured the same two teams. So that's a bit of an interesting stat for you there. And, it's going to be retribution, hopefully, for Chelsea. All of football, other than Liverpool fans, will need us to do the job to stop Liverpool from potentially get what would be a quadruple, which, just can't happen. But in the sunshine, in the yellow kits, the Blues got the job done. And for Thomas Tuchel, it was a 6th final in just 15 months in charge of the club. That is some quite phenomenal record. Obviously, I know we've not won them all. It's obviously 2 losses, FA Cup finals, and 1 loss in the League Cup final. So he's won half of them. But, to have reached 6 finals in just 15 months in charge, Champions League final, 2 FA Cup finals, League Cup, Super Cup, Club World Cup. It is an absolutely phenomenal record. I was at the game yesterday at Wembley. Great occasion, as always. Easter Sunday, sun was shining. The yellow kits were out. And do you know what? I think we need to be playing in this yellow kit more often. Last 3 games we've played in it, we've served up, 11 goals. So hopefully we can be playing in it a bit more, because it seems to be bringing us good luck. But yesterday, the most important thing was just making sure that we made that final, particularly after the disappointment of going out of the Champions League. It was imperative that, we make this final, and we have done so. And now we just need to finish the job off by winning this FA Cup. It's been long overdue, and a domestic trophy itself has been long overdue in general. The FA Cup was the last one we won, 2018. So no domestic trophy since 2018, when Antonio Conte was in charge, and Eden Hazard scoring the winning penalty for a 1-0 win against Manchester United. And ironically, he was actually in attendance at Wembley yesterday. I'm not sure if that means anything at all, but he was there yesterday taking it in. So great to have a Chelsea legend, Eden Hazard, in attendance. But yeah, the game itself, I've got to be honest, it wasn't great. First half was awful. We were just so slow on the ball, didn't create anything. We just offered absolutely nothing going forward, and just offered nothing in general. A big problem with that, Tuchel was fuming on the sideline, but Jorginho was just so slow on the ball, taking so long to pass it, to move it. And that really affected our play. Palace had a few opportunities, one from a set piece where Mendy made a great save. And they looked potentially threatening in behind a couple of times, but Christensen and Reece James dealt with Wilfried Zaha pretty well. Mateta was kept quiet. So, it wasn't much going on at all, really, in the half. Palace probably shaded the better opportunities, and they probably should have gone a goal ahead when Kouyaté from a corner had basically what was a free header and made a bit of a hash of it. And if he'd done better with that, then we're 1-0 down. But, second half was completely different. We are second half FC at the moment. First half just offering nothing. Whatever happens at half time, I'm not sure. We come out second half and we seem to be a lot better. And, we get the 2 goals through Ruben Loftus Cheek and Mason Mount, 2 Cobham graduates, firing us into that FA Cup final. And for Ruben Loftus Cheek, I think all Chelsea fans are absolutely delighted for him. These last 3 games, he's really doing well again, putting in the top level of performance. He was great against Southampton. I know a lot of time on the ball, etc., but it was in an unfamiliar kind of hybrid role, right wing back coming into midfield. Did really well there, and was again deployed there against Real Madrid. He did a great job there as well, considering it's not his position and against a level of very good opposition. I thought he did really well in that game. And then obviously he was on the bench for this one. Only sour note for Chelsea was the fact that Mateo Kovacic went off with an ankle injury, which is not ideal whatsoever. The fact that he's weight-bearing on it is a good sign. But, Thomas Tuchel saying afterwards that, let me just bring it up on the screen now, that it's not ideal. But again, we'll have to wait and see. So it doesn't look so good, but we will wait for the examination and we can tell you more. I mean, he was walking out, leg was bandaged up for Kovacic. Hopefully he's not out for too long. So the fact that he was weight bearing, that's got to be a little bit of a plus really for me. But again, hopefully he doesn't miss too many games. We ideally really need him back for that FA Cup final. I mean, hopefully he's not out for too long. Well, FA Cup final is about 3 weeks away. It might be touch and go. It might not be. But yeah, that was a real sour note. But the big plus was obviously Loftus Cheek coming on and doing really well. He gets his goal. It's a great finish. I know it takes a slight deflection, but he came on and he really stepped up again. And it's so important for Ruben that he keeps putting these performances in. Really, really important. And it's being reported today, I think in the Times, that Loftus Cheek's not planning to go anywhere this summer, doesn't want to leave. If he can carry on this level of performance between now and the end of the season, and there's definitely a place in the squad for him. Is he going to be a regular starter? No, he's not. But, he'll probably have a similar role to what he's had this season. And he could be an invaluable member of the squad. And, if he can just get that consistency that we've seen in the last 3 games, and we really have got a top player on our hands and someone that can very, very much play a role within the squad. But yeah, absolutely delighted for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. And the away at the Chelsea, I was going mad when he scored. Everyone thoroughly delighted for him. And hopefully now Ruben can kick on. Thomas Tuchel praising him a lot in the build-up to the game, wanting everyone in the stadium to see just how good Ruben is when he's in training. They want to see that on the pitch. And I think these last 3 games, the manager will be very, very pleased with him and what he's done. So, yeah, delighted for Ruben. Really, really good performance from him yesterday. He would have been my man of the match, but obviously it was given to Timo Werner, who also had a good game, which we'll obviously come on to later on. But in terms of, the starting lineup, I suppose the big calls between the sticks, Kepa had obviously played every round up until this point. But obviously Thomas Tuchel went with Mendy. Trust every decision he makes. And ultimately, Mendy is the number 1 goalkeeper. And I'm just not sure Tuchel's really got that 100% trust in Kepa. I know when Kepa's come in, he's played really well under Tuchel. But the fact of the matter is, this is a massive game. We had to make the final. Mendy's our best goalkeeper. And ultimately, as harsh as it is, or as hard to take as it would be for Kepa, ultimately your best goalkeeper is going to play in the biggest games. And it was the right decision to make. Not an easy one, I can't imagine, but certainly the right choice to make in the goalkeeping position. And Mendy was pretty solid yesterday. He made a couple of good saves that he had to make. Other than that, he didn't have an awful lot else to do. Moving further up the pitch, the front three was the same. I think at the moment, that's probably our best front three. Werner, Mount, Havertz. Seems to be linking up well. Mount and Werner were linking up pretty well yesterday as well. The midfield, obviously, Kante rested. We had Jorginho and Kovacic in there. Pretty much what people were expecting. Aspie was back in. Alonso keeping his place at left wing back. And obviously, Reece James slotting into the right side of that back three to obviously try and deal with the pace of Wilfried Zaha. And I think him and Christensen between them dealt really well with the threat of Zaha, pretty much stopped him getting in behind at any point. They marshalled him well and they cut off that supply line. And, that was a very good tactical move by Tuchel to put Reece James in there to combat that potential issue with Palace's pace in the front line, maybe causing us problems. I think Aspie in there, Zaha would have fancied his chances a lot more. But with Reece James in there, helped by Christensen, it was a job well done, certainly. In terms of Crystal Palace themselves, it was obviously a big day out for them. They had the blue and red flares, the balloons everywhere, flags waving and stuff. The first half they weren't bad, They didn't offer an awful lot, but they stopped Chelsea from doing anything whatsoever. They had a couple of the one opportunity from the set piece in that first half. And then they had a few kind of dangerous-looking openings which were stifled out. And then obviously the one big chance they had was Kouate, header from the set piece that I mentioned earlier in the second half, where he should be scoring that. But other than that, they kind of just sat in, tried to make it really difficult for Chelsea. And it was one of those that, once the first goal came, you knew it was kind of going to be, it was game over. Palace weren't really looking like scoring. It was a big day out for them and their fans. I'm sure they obviously enjoyed the occasion at Wembley. For Chelsea, it's kind of a routine affair, really. The 27th time that we've appeared at the new Wembley Stadium. We seem to get there most seasons. We tend to go 2 or 3 times a season, which is a phenomenal record. Don't get me wrong, the Palace fans were good yesterday, but ultimately the result is all that matters. And as we were chanting yesterday, 2-0 on your big day out. So ultimately, Palace falling pretty short. They didn't offer a lot, if we're being perfectly honest. And once that first goal went in, it was kind of one-way traffic, and there was only going to be one winner, and the Blues were marching on to their 3rd consecutive final. But yeah, the big difference for me at half-time was the fact that having had such a poor first half, particularly Jorginho, slowing the play down, etc. Not moving it quick enough, which was causing us a few problems. Tuchels, as I said, was fuming on the sideline. Jorginho actually did play better in the second half. I think perhaps because he had a bit more space, a bit more time on the ball, he could do a few more bits, but not a great performance from him. And I think his amazing season that he had last season is perhaps slightly starting to catch up with him, and his levels of performance have drastically trailed off. It's a little bit of a concern. And I think him and Kante, well, definitely one of them will be sold this summer. We can get money for both of them. And part of me thinks that maybe there's a chance we might cash in on both, but I think definitely one, and it's probably going to be Jorginho. But there's no way we should be offering both of them new contracts at their age, particularly if, players are being linked within the market and what we've got coming through, the likes of Conor Gallagher, potentially Ruben still, maybe Billy Gilmore still has a future as well. There's plenty of options in there. But I mean, ultimately, it was the first half was awful, but second half a lot better. And it was a pretty convincing win for the Blues in the end, quite comfortable, running out 2-0 winners there. And let me just bring something else up. I mean, obviously, I mentioned it at the start, Tuchel obviously making his 6th final, and I'm not sure he really knew what to say afterwards when he was asked about it. Let me just bring it up now. Here we go. Yeah, he's saying he doesn't want to get used to it. I want it to still feel special. My 2nd Emirates FA Cup final. I feel very grateful. So, I mean, again, phenomenal from Thomas Tuchel to make another final there. I'm just going to bring up another quote from him. Let's have a quick look. Here we go. Wow, that's not bad. It's so nice all the time. To play the final is so special. The day before, then the day itself. Sometimes it does not feel nice when you feel the pressure, but in general, it is good. And it certainly is. And, whilst we all want, a league challenge, a title challenge to go close and to win that Premier League for the first time in a number of years, the fact that we know we're doing so well in the cup competitions, we keep delivering trophies is credit to Thomas Tuchel and credit to the club itself and the winning mentality that's been built over the years. The fact that we're always in these big occasions, and more often than not, we're adding trophies to the bag and we're getting them in the cabinet. And that is the most important thing. Great for the players to look back on their careers, great for the manager, and a great day out for the fans to be celebrating as well. But I mean, in general, a fairly straightforward afternoon at Wembley for the Blues. I was a little bit worried at half-time. We were really awful in that first half, really awful. But we sprung into life, and the main thing is we got the job done. And there's not really that much else to particularly say about the game, really, other than the fact that we got the job done and we're in the final again. So I'm probably going to leave it there and move into the player rating. So I'm just going to bring my screen up. Again, going with that, obviously with that back 3 or back 5, whatever you want to refer to it as. Obviously, Aspilicueta on that right wing back side, Reece James on the right centre back. But we will start with Edouard Mendy in goal. Obviously, got the nod ahead of Kepa, which ultimately I think was the right decision. Made a couple of important saves. Definitely that one in the first half from a set piece. Can't remember who had the opportunity, but other than that, Mendy not an awful lot to do, but a good physical presence in goal. I'm probably going to be looking at a 6.5 for Edouard Mendy. Solid, and he'll continue to be very important for us. Obviously, we move into a big week where we've got Arsenal and West Ham this week coming up. So Mendy a 6.5. Let's move into the back 3 then. We will start with Reece James. And again, not really playing in his favoured position. Doesn't influence the attack as much when he's in this right centre-back area. Spend a little bit more time perhaps tucked in, making a third man in midfield as well. But I felt he did pretty well. He kept Wilfried Zaha pretty quiet. Him and Christensen dealt with the pace of the Palace attack really well and limited them to virtually nothing. And they were able to intercept and stop dangerous opportunities from developing. So Reece James again showing how versatile he is and what a fantastic footballer he is. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for yesterday. And he's going to continue to be really important between now and the end of the season. Moving on to Andreas Christensen. Obviously, his games are now running out in a Chelsea shirt. It's very well known that he's joining Barcelona. I know it's not been officially announced yet, but I think it's all been agreed. We're just waiting for that announcement. He was back in the lineup yesterday in the heart of that three-man defence. Thiago Silva getting a well-earned rest. Obviously he's not getting any younger and he's played a lot of football recently. So a great opportunity to give Silva a rest before the two big London derbies coming up in the week. I felt Christensen had a pretty decent game yesterday. I can't lie. As I was saying with James, dealt with the pace that Palace had in that front line and, stopped potential dangerous opportunities from developing. I thought it was a touch better than James. So I'm going to give Christensen the 7.5. Okay, moving on to Antonio Rudiger, Mr. Dependable. Again, the thing with Rudiger is you get to a certain level where, his performances are just at week in, week out, so consistent. Yesterday, wasn't like an amazing game from him, but he did the job. There was a worry when he went down late on towards the end of the game, like, shit, he hasn't picked up an injury, has he? But he got up and he carried on and he was fine. Again, I thought he was just pretty solid, defended well when he was called upon. Again, a few more forays forward, a couple of shots from distance. But yeah, pretty solid all-round Rudiger performance. So I'm going to give him the same as James. We're going to slot him in with a 7 out of 10. And I really hope, that he will sign the new contract and he does stay, because he's going to be so difficult to replace if he does end up leaving. Moving on to Captain Fantastic himself, Cesar Azpilicueta, back in the starting lineup again after missing the last couple of games with COVID, not being fully fit, etc. I don't know. Let's have a think with Azpilicueta. It wasn't awful. He got forward well, put a few balls into the box, but for me, I think it was kind of just average at best, not terrible, but not really anything special at all. But solid performance. You could see with this celebration when Ruben scored how much it means to Azpilicueta and how important it is for him and the club, despite the fact he's Chelsea's most decorated player in terms of trophies won. Making these finals and potentially winning these trophies still means so much to him. So for me, Aspi, probably going to I'll give him a 5.5 for sure. 5.5. For Azpilicueta. Let me just bring that in a touch so that it stays on the pitch. Right, moving on to Marcos Alonso, who had a worldy performance in the Bernabeu. A little bit quieter yesterday. Didn't have an awful lot to do. Didn't get forward as much. Defended pretty well. But yeah, there wasn't an awful lot from him, to be honest, from Marcus. I know that the game didn't really, enable him to get forward as much. He defended pretty solidly. I'd probably say he was a touch better than Aspi, so I'd give him a 6, really, but a pretty quiet game for Alonso. But, he got the job done, wasn't really skinned by anyone or anything like that. So, yeah, what's going on here? APA in the chat, Werner kind of reminds me of Hazard vibes. I wouldn't quite go that far, but he certainly improved in his last 3 games. Agreed, did his job there. Nothing more. He's our captain, is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, 100% agree on that one. Moving on then, let's have a look. We've got Jorginho in the midfield. He was back in the lineup. As I referenced earlier, it wasn't great from Jorginho, if I'm being perfectly honest. First half particularly, Tuchel not pleased with him. So slow on the ball. He gave the ball away in quite a few occasions. He slowed our attacks down. And he's struggling this season. He really is. He's not been himself at all. But having said that, it wasn't very good. There was an improvement in the second half. But, other than a couple of assists where he had Havertz against Newcastle and the great ball free for Pulisic, Lille away, Jorginho's performances in the last few weeks, months have been really poor. And I think a mega season last season is kind of catching up with him. But I felt he was awful, really bad yesterday, really bad. So I think, I'm going to give him a 3.5. It wasn't good at all. Moving on to Mateo Kovacic, when he went off injured after about 20-odd minutes. So it was quite hard to really give him any rating. So unfortunately, he's going to be an NA there. And hopefully, as I referred to before, that injury is not too bad, and he'll be back with us pretty soon, and hopefully definitely back for that FA Cup final. But we'll have to wait for more information on that. I doubt he'll play against Arsenal on Wednesday night. I'd be very, very surprised. Moving on to Ruben Loftus Cheek, then another big opportunity for him in a different position again, playing alongside Jorginho in that midfield pivot. And Ruben was great yesterday. He was really, really good. Obviously, took the goal well, driving forward at every opportunity, breaking that play up, making things happen. And it was a dominant midfield performance from Loftus Cheek. And as I said before, hopefully he can carry this on now. You know, we saw great form under Maurizio Sarri before that ridiculous Achilles injury picked up in a pointless friendly in America before the Europa League final. And as Mason Mount said in his interview afterwards, you know, Ruben's worked so hard to get back to where he is now. And he's a top player. He's important for us. You know, the way he picks the ball up, drives forward, helps the team move up the pitch. And we saw everything yesterday. It was a complete performance from Ruben. And, you know, that's 3 games in a row now where he's performed to a really high level. And he just needs to continue that. And between now and the end of the season, it's going to be really crucial for Loftus Cheek. And in terms of his Chelsea future, I know he doesn't want to leave, but it could be make or break for him in a Chelsea shirt. So, I mean, he can do it. He's got the ability. We just need to see it on a consistent basis. But I thought he was superb yesterday. And I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for Ruben. He would have been my man of the match for sure. Let's move into that front 3 then. Mason Mount. And since he's had that haircut and got rid of his long lid that he was flicking and the performances were poor, his form has picked up remarkably. I reckon every time Mount's having a bad game, if he just goes to the barbers for a trim, that seems to sort him out. But again, yesterday, not his best game. You know, I think in terms of influence over 90 minutes, it's perhaps not as great as it was last season. But what is certainly there is his ability to contribute to key moments. And he got the second goal yesterday, a really nice finish. And for this season now, for Mason Mount, it's 26 goals and assists, a goal in an FA Cup semi-final, an assist in the League Cup semi, 3 goals and assists in the Champions League knockout rounds, 4 goals and assists versus the current top 7 in the Premier League, as well as adding, 4 goals in his last 3 games, 2 against Southampton, 1 on the Bernabeu against Madrid, and 1 against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup semi-final yesterday. The guy's a big game player. And those people that don't rate him are just, I don't get it. It's absolutely clear. So I was having this conversation yesterday about saying that Mount's actually better than Bruno Fernandes, and people aren't prepared to have that conversation or admit it. But I'm not just saying it from a biased perspective. He is better than Bruno. You know, the way he contributes to the game, etc. So yeah, I mean, I think he is, and I think if it was a choice of Mount or Bruno Fernandes, I'd have Mason Mount every day. But 26 goals and assists contributions this season. Hopefully, we should be able to make 30 goal and assist contributions come the end of the season. That would be a phenomenal season for Mason Mount, someone who's 23. And that was one thing I was critical of Mount for, was his goals and assists contributions. But he's really picked them up now. Hopefully he can go from strength to strength there. But another good performance from Mount, solid. I think we're looking at best probably a 7. I'll give him a 7 just. Let's move on to Timo Werner. He was obviously given the official man of the match by Emirates or whoever it is. And it was another good performance from Werner. You know, he had the assist for Mount. You know, he was making things happen, looked dangerous, getting in behind. Could have had another assist when Lukaku missed an absolute sitter and hit the post. And he seems to have really revived himself these last 3 games. I know it's not, 3 games doesn't make your Chelsea career, but we've seen kind of in these 3 games, the Werner that we paid that £50 million for. And I don't think it's any coincidence that these performances have come on pitches that are a lot bigger than Stamford Bridge in terms of the dimensions. I know there's minimum and maximum dimensions, but in terms of like the size of the pitch, St Mary's, the Bernabeu and Wembley, he seems to have had a lot more space. So I think if we're going to get the best out of Timo Werner, we need to make that Stamford Bridge pitch as big as possible. We really do. But yeah, there's another good performance from him, taking players on, assists, contributing to key moments in the game, involved, always giving 100% as well. And his mentality is really good. So for Timo, I'm going to go with a 7.5. And hopefully this form can continue, because he, again, is fighting for his Chelsea career. And there'll be an interesting decision to be made at the end of the season, whether he's ultimately kept or sold. I mean, if he carries on this form on a consistent basis, I'd keep him. But I still think ultimately he probably will be moved on in the summer, more likely than not. But if he can carry on this level of performance to the end of the season, then it does make that decision a little bit tougher to make. But let's make no mistake about it. Let's not use 3 games to cover up what he's done so far in his Chelsea career. But another positive day for Timo yesterday, so credit where it's due. Moving on to Kai Havertz, I thought not a great game yesterday for Kai. Didn't really have that many opportunities. Wasn't that involved in the game. The link up wasn't really there. Mount and Werner were linking up well. Havertz struggling with the link up play, in my opinion, and he kind of ruined his day a little bit where he did that dive in the first half when he was through on goal anyway. There was no need for it, so it was a shame to see that he didn't need to be doing that whatsoever. So that's a bit of he needs to cut that out of his game and stop doing that. But yeah, not an awful lot from Kai Havertz yesterday. I thought he did struggle. Not his best. You can't play your best every time, but he's been really important to how we play in recent months, and we are better, I think, when he plays up in that number 9 position. But yeah, yesterday wasn't a great game. I'll probably say, to be honest, for Kai, he was kind of below average, 4.5 for me. And in terms of the subs, obviously Loftus Cheek we've done, Silva, Kante, Ziyech, and Lukaku not really playing long enough to warrant a rating. But I think interesting what Joe Cole was saying after the game. I can't remember what he was saying now. Basically saying that Lukaku's pretty much got, 6 weeks to save his Chelsea career because, and citing Werner as an example, he just needs to get his head down, work hard, and just take an opportunity. One goal could give Lukaku so much confidence and really help him kick on. But at the moment, nothing's going right for him at all. He should be scoring that chance yesterday as a sitter hits the post. Things aren't going right for him. And I don't think anyone expected when he signed in the summer for £97.5 million that things would go this badly. And it's a big decision to be made in the summer. If we can get anywhere near what we bought him for, then I think the club could be tempted to cash in. But at the same time, there's part of me that still thinks that this could work with Chelsea and Lukaku. But at the moment, the evidence is not there to suggest that is going to be the case. But you never say never. But there's a long way to go for Lukaku. And this 6 weeks now remaining between now and the end of the season is going to be crucial in terms of what happens with Lukaku's future in the summer. But yeah, he's certainly got to improve a lot. And it was another frustrating display from him when he came on yesterday. But hopefully, he can kick on. Everyone wants him to do well in the Chelsea shirt. It's just so frustrating that it's not worked out the way we thought it would. I would personally give him another season, but there's a decision to be made for the new owners. And if we did sell him, who would we bring in to replace him as well? That's the other issue as well. It's fine. Okay, let's get rid of him. But who do we bring in that's going to do the job that we need doing? It's really tough. But yeah, guys, that's just my player ratings and thoughts on the game yesterday. As always, let me know if you agree or disagree in the chat or in the comments. And thank you for getting involved in the chat. Always appreciate you guys getting involved in there. And ultimately, in the Wembley sunshine, Chelsea made it to another final. And on the May 14th, in the repeat of the League Cup final, we will take on Liverpool again. It'll be our 28th visit to the new Wembley Stadium. And we really do need to win this FA Cup final. No team in history has lost 3 FA Cup finals in a row. So we cannot become the first to do that. And we must stop Liverpool from potentially winning the quadruple. But this FA Cup now is crucial to the season and to the success of the season as a whole. So May 14th, we must deliver that FA Cup trophy. But another great day in the Wembley sunshine, another cup final made, the 6th in 15 months under Thomas Tuchel. And it's now time to add another trophy to the cabinet. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for getting involved in the chat. Make sure you smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel. Edging ever closer to that 400 subscribers mark. So please do help me get there. Really appreciate all of your support. And I'll be back tomorrow evening with a match preview for the Arsenal game. So until then, guys, take care and up the Chelsea.